Semdol kake mofaseda.
Hang on a minute.
First, if you would like to support the show, visit patreon.com/Matterall and pledge. It keeps the sponsored interruptions away. To listeners that have pledged, thank you very much. Today, joining me on the panel will be my co-host Carneros, leader of the Bastion Imperium.
Good
Hey,
morning,
Carneros.
everyone.
How are you today?
Great.
Awesome. And our guests are Eve Mogul's Jeronica.
Good morning.
How's it going? And Tuzi, leader of the Imperium's logistics wing. Hey, Tuzi.
Hey, how are you guys?
Good. All right, let's start with logistics and what they actually are. And I'm going to throw this over to Carneros. Maybe you can walk us through like corp logistics and then alliance logistics, and then we'll get talking about how Lifeblood is going to this new expansion from Eve going to affect all this.
Yeah, when we say that Tuzi is the director of logistics, what we mean is Goonswarm Offensive Logistics that we call GSOL. It's if you've heard of GSOL, some people don't even know what it stands for, but they just know what it is and that it's really important. It's not the kind of logistics that involves repairing other ships. It's more logistics from a military sense, from a supply line sense, both before and after your troops have moved into an area. These guys are sort of a combination of your supply lines, but they're also kind of like your Army Corps of Engineers in the sense that they'll design our Delve jump bridge network and other key pieces of infrastructure to keep everything running. Is that a fair description, Tuzi?
Yeah, that's we do. I like to say that we're kind of like the highway department. You know, we pave the roads.
I love that idea, that concept of space roads. All right, so how long have you been doing this sort of thing?
It's actually coming up here in the next week, my 10-year anniversary playing Eve. But I didn't get into GSOL until I think it was sometime in mid 2013, late 2013. So I've been doing GSOL since then. I got made a director of GSOL in late 2015 in December. And then just this past summer, a few months ago, I stepped up and became the lead director of GSOL because the former lead director of GSOL, Nimblar, was really busy with his IRL stuff with his job and whatnot, and couldn't devote as much time to it. So he and I just kind of swapped places. He's still a director of GSOL, but I'm now the kind of the leader of the SIG.
Oh, that's cool. I remember there was a presentation by Goonswarm or GSOL, and there was two guys. Who were those two guys?
That was some of our former directors of GSOL
Mm-hmm.
that have since don't really, they're not active anymore. They stepped down years ago. But yeah. It's a lot of what, and I don't remember if that was Java Junkie. I don't remember who gave that presentation. I remember watching it. A lot of the stuff that he talked about was the sort of stuff we still do for those legacy structures that still exist, POSes and whatnot. Obviously, I don't think when he presented that, Citadels were even a thing yet.
Yeah. I just remember two guys that reminded me of like Penn and Teller, like they had a little show. But yeah, they gave a presentation on logistics, which was fascinating because I don't know if people understand how big a logistical burden tens of thousands of players, can wreak on a small staff.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of alliances, when you hear, oh, it's their logistics guys, they think that means we fly jump raiders between Jita and Delve all day. That's not what we do. I think Goonswarm and the Imperium as a whole is an odd alliance in that we have never really made our alliance logistics guys be the guys that also do all of the shipping to and from the market. Pretty much private shippers within the alliance. Anyone can start up a shipping business and start a thread and say, hey, I'm shipping. And there's rules around making sure you have collateral on your contract and all that sort of stuff to avoid thieves. But we don't do much of any of that. I mean, hell, we use a lot of private shippers to ship our own alliance stuff. I sort of think of it as it's our guys is like that's. I don't want to say it's beneath our guys, but I would rather our guys be doing something, fueling passes, fueling jump bridges, putting down citadels, fitting citadels, making sure the citadels are fit correctly, dropping TCUs and iHubs. That's the sort of stuff we do.
Mm-hmm. How many of you are there?
It varies. Inactivity periods wanes, and we have turnover because there's a lot of people aren't cut out to do that sort of thing. So it varies, sometimes as low as 15 people, sometimes as many as 30 or more.
Well, cool. All right. Andronica, how are you doing? You've been on the show a few times. How's business?
Doing well. Business is pretty good.
It's so funny. From this angle, your camera looks like you're a cat that's pounced on me before I wake up.
Yeah, I just hopped in the shower and just came out, so I'm not all my hair is not all done up or anything.
You look like a rock star. So Eve Mogul, you've been at it for a while now, and you're looking at the markets and stuff. So we'll later on discuss, what these moon changes mean, because it's a real big income shift, isn't it?
Oh, it's a huge income shift for alliances for sure.
Yeah. Well, first, let's talk about what it is that is coming up this Tuesday. And I'll just run through the actual patch notes real quick, and then we'll come back and talk about these things. And then later we can come back to the patch notes and round out the show by, discussing stuff that is also on here. But we're going to get refineries on Tuesdays. That is the Anthanor and the Tatara. Those are the large and the extra large, or medium and large. They'll be doing moon mining modules on there, where they shoot a laser at a moon and break off a piece and then blow up that piece, and it becomes a mining field. And so people have to mine it instead of one person picking up a delivery that a moon has. You'll actually have to have a crew of miners go and extract the moon material. So that's totally changing from a one-person job to a multiple-person job. You also have improved reactions. They'll use the industry user interface, which will make it a lot easier to do. It used to be done outside with modules, and it was kind of an old system. And you have mining rigs. And you have resource wars that are coming up. Those are with NPCs. That's cooperative gameplay, and it's going to be short bursts, so little sessions. That's that. I'm looking forward to that. There's Garista shipyards coming up, and those are going to yield 3 different BPOs. So if you actually managed with a lot of people to destroy a shipyard, just like the Blood Raiders, you will get either a Dreadnought, a Titan, or a Force Auxiliary. And the Dread is the Kamen, the Titan is the Komodo, and the Force Auxiliary is the Loggerhead. Those are the names of those. Also in this patch, you'll have pirate forward operating bases, and you'll have improvements to the agency, which will basically start to build into this module in the game that allows you to figure out what's going on around you so you can participate in things, which is brilliant. You'll also have an alpha ship rebellants to make them a little more playable, and the Marshall battleship from Concord will be released. That's what's coming up this Tuesday in EVE, so everybody's looking forward to that. But let's talk about the headliner here, and that is how Lifeblood, this expansion, is going to affect the massive economies of Nullsec. So what's the big takeaway on this? I guess we'll start with Veronica.
Basically, they're removing the ability to tax a moon just for single ore or single moon goo. So all these alliances already have their spreadsheets built with what each moon has. So if you want to mine that moon, they basically just tax you that moon. With the change, it's all dynamic now. Although it will have the each moon will have its own minerals, which are valuable, but it depends on people actively mining it. So it's going to change the way alliances tax it.
Now, what are the obvious signs on the market that this change is happening?
Well, people are stocking up on Tech 2 minerals and Tech 2 moon goo quite heavily because they're expecting the no one to really do any mining the first couple weeks, and that's a very real scenario because the refiners need to they need to go into build. Sorry, they need to go into build. Then they need to be anchored. Then they need to be extracted and then mined and then sent to the markets.
Yeah, and protected, right? Because people are going to want to kill those first ones that come out. Well,
definitely.
So how is this like? How are you guys in Goonswarm, which is a huge logistical burden, as we spoke earlier? How are you guys preparing for this, or how have you been preparing?
Well, we've been. I'm not sure I'm sure you're probably familiar with the website HuboLeaks.space. It's a great little site that I'm not sure how the guy does it, but I think he parses anytime CC gets an update, he parses the files and somehow reads through and strips out the data. So it's an easy, you can do change diffs and whatnot to see what changed easily without having to log into CC every single time and look through the market and try to figure out what changed. So we've been watching that like a hawk for months and months and months and months and months and months, watching every little change, trying to thus figure out, what implications that's going to have on how we're going to be able to build this or that, or what's that going to do to this price of this salvage or PI. And we've been stockpiling so that on day one, when everyone else is on the market trying to, all the people that maybe haven't been paying attention, you would think that that's by this time hardly no one. But I think people will be surprised that there's, like, I was telling some folks on Mumble last night, they're like, oh, everyone knows already. It won't be a problem. It's like, how we do Burn Jita every year, and it's our Eve's favorite pastime to try to find out when we're going to do Burn Jita and loudly scream about it weeks and weeks in advance of Burn Jita to warn everyone about Burn Jita, and then we proceed to kill Jump Raider after Jump Raider after Jump Raider for 72 hours that weekend. And people are like, how do these people not know about Burn Jita? Because there's a ton of people that play EVE Online that don't read the forums, that don't read Reddit, that have no idea anything going on outside of their little world on their TeamSpeak server with their 5 friends.
That has to be underscored. Yeah. Like, this is people listening to this podcast. Thank you very much. People supporting, people watching Reddit and all that kind of stuff. You're actually a minority.
Yeah, like Pro God Legend is, he made a comment in a thread I wrote on Reddit last night where he said, oh, everyone knows about this by already. And Pro God is a, well-experienced FC, and he knows a lot about FCing, but like, I don't think he has the perspective to understand that the people that read the EVE subreddit is a minority of the total player base that affects the economy.
Yeah, same with meetups. People that go to meetups, like, that's a dedicated core. And I think there is a dedicated core to EVE that's huge, but most people don't do that. They get their news and stuff from their close-knit friends in the game. And so there's a lot of people that really wait for expansions to hit, but you guys research them before they hit.
Yeah, we've been telling people, we have a couple channels on our Jabber that, your industry folks, your market folks, the kind of guys that don't like to join fleet and go shoot things. They just sit and look at spreadsheets all day and sit in Jita. Those guys sit in this channel. They're the kind of people that's known about this for months and months and months, have been preparing. We have guys that came in one of the channels yesterday after I made that Reddit post and we were talking about it, and he's like, oh, what can I do to make money? It's like, dude, you're way too late. There's nothing you can do at this point.
Yeah. Well, all right. So what's going to change, like, on the ground? Like, what the biggest change, I think, is going to be there's a huge moon redistribution, right?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that everyone needs to grok and most of the people on the, I mean, I would guess most people watching this probably already realize this, but the biggest thing people need to grok is that on patch day, all moon mining ceases across all of New Eden. At that point, there is no new goo being gathered, and we're now dependent upon stockpiles, whether it's stockpiles sitting on the market or sitting in someone's hangar and they're waiting for the price to rise higher. And I think that goo, like if you, I'd use dysprosium as an example. Now, Dotlan, I think, is a little inaccurate as far as totaling up all of the R64s out there and where they are. I think it's accurate for some regions and inaccurate for other regions. But let's just assume, for argument, that it is 100% accurate, to use it as an example. There were, I don't remember off the top of my head, like 114 dysprosium moons listed on Dotlan in the galaxy. And if you do the math, that comes out to be 10 million and change dysprosium being gathered per month, and therefore either going into the market or sitting in someone's hangar. But, you know, there's 10 million going into the game every month. And you're assuming that 99% of those dysprosium moons are being mined for that entire month. You know, there's some wars going on here. Maybe the POS is offline for 4 days while it gets blown up and someone else towers it, that sort of thing. But it's probably 95% plus efficiency is that being gathered, right? On patch day, that drops to 0. And I believe that there will be a 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 week, 10 week, 12 week ramp up where we push that percentage back up to 50%, 70%, 80%. And I don't think we'll ever get back up above those 90, 95% numbers again on any particular goo type, because the active mining is going to be so messy. You're going to have a window of 2 to 3 days to mine that belt when it eventually pops, whether it's 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks. And there's going to be so much potential for cloaky campers, dread bombs, all sorts of ways to disrupt that. And therefore, I don't think we will ever achieve the efficiency and output ever again of the goo coming into the game. Now, that being said, CCP may, you know, buff moon goo and have it, there's just way more out there, and therefore, you know.
We don't know how much stuff's going to be released every time one of these rocks explodes, and so it could be much higher than it was. Just to
that's a variable that we don't know. I mean, I'm making the post I wrote. I just made a lot of assumptions based on the current level and CCP wanting to maintain the current level. They may have already anticipated this and buffed the amount of goo that's going to be out there by 20%, 40%, 100%. We won't know that until a couple months after, and everyone does their moon scans and everyone starts, you know, collecting their goo and putting it on the market, and we see what prices do. So a lot of my theory on this post is hinges on a few big assumptions, and I could very well be wrong, and everyone can laugh at me in 3 months. But it's not that far fetched either.
Yeah. All right. So let's see. Passive income versus active income this is something that may go over the heads of a lot of people. What does that mean? Carneros, you want to take this one?
Which question are you looking at? I'm looking at
the second one, the passive efficient mining versus active, which is messy mining. Or actually, since Tuzi wrote that, maybe you can explain that concept.
Yeah, so I mean, passive income is sort of what I was already saying is you put a POS on a moon. It takes you anywhere between, whether it's a small POS or a large POS, 15 minutes to an hour to get the thing up. You shove some fuel in, you shove some straw in. 6 minutes later, you can online a miner in 2 silos, and you're mining already. You're mining 100 units per hour, every hour, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, until you come back and collect it, or someone blows up your moon or puts it into reinforcement. So you're not having to spend any money or effort. I mean, you're paying for the fuel blocks, obviously, in the tower, but a very small amount of people, say 5 people, can manage 100 different mining moons spread out across 2 regions with not a lot of work, right?
Yeah.
With active, you're having to, of course, you know, build the refineries and put them on the moon and fuel them and all that. And once you press button, a time period passes, minimum of I think it's 6 days and a few hours, maximum of 56 days, after which a belt will spawn, after which you can go there and press a button, cause the belt to spawn, or after a certain amount of time, the belt will automatically spawn if you fail to press the button. And at that point, there's a timer, and the belt is going to despawn and disappear unless you mine all the rocks.
Have we decided, or have they told us? I think they said it was going to be like 24 hours. The belt will disappear if it's not mined.
It's so if you look at
They were playing with that time. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't off the top of my head know the exact time. I think with the appropriate rigs, I think the rigs impact it, whether it's T1 or T2. You can actually increase the amount of time the belt sticks around for. So with like in an ideal situation, a T2 rigged refinery, I think you're given maybe a couple days. Maybe it's more than one. It's 2 or 3 days, but I don't know the exact number on that.
Yeah. So yeah, passive income, something a few guys could take care of. Active income is going to take a lot of little guys mining. And now they have a mining ledger, which is a feature that's coming out. That's a new feature. Mining ledger will record as your own person. It will record all the stuff, all the mining you do all over the universe or whatever. But it will also record. Do we know exactly what it's going to record everybody that mines in that field for that refinery, right?
Yeah, so the personal mining ledger, which is tied to every single character in the game and is accessible via the API, logs everything that you mine, whether it's an asteroid belt, an ore anomaly, or a moon asteroid belt. Doesn't matter. If you mine it, it's a rock in space, it shows up in the ledger. The corporate mining ledger, I think, only works for specifically on the refineries the corporation owns and people that mine in the belts that those refineries cause to spawn.
Yeah. So, and that's kind of been controversial because some people want to sneak into an area with these new stealth ships, the Ventures, I think they are, or the
Prospect. Yeah,
Prospect, the T2 version.
Everyone's favorite cover sauna.
You can fly into an area and mine and then fly out without being detected, and that was kind of rich gameplay for some people who wanted to stealth around and pick some berries off somebody else's farm and stuff like that. Well, you can't do it because there's cameras everywhere now. This is all an analogy for you get caught because it's in the ledger.
Yeah, you can still go to a hostile entity and hot drop their belt and mine their ore. I keep hearing everyone talk about how excited they are about this. I think it's going to be something everyone gets hyped about for a couple weeks, and they realize, they go, oh wow, we didn't look at the prospect and realize how little it mines. This is awful.
That's true.
I mean, if someone wants to bring a Rorqual fleet to Delve and try to hot drop one of our belts, they're more than welcome to try it.
Oh, you don't want to tempt people, but I feel the security. Well, Carneros, you would want to sneak around and pick berries off somebody else's grove.
I don't have time for berries. I don't know. Some people do.
Is it just me? Okay. No, but I did hear that from other people.
Sneak around. I'll just sneak around and look, see what's going on.
That's true. Are you a bird watcher, by the way?
In RL?
Yeah. The reason I bring that up is because bird watching is just like hunting, except you don't have to kill anything, which is kind of nice. Right. So the other thing is this is PI for hulls. Why don't you cover that, Tuzi? Let's go through your notes here. The spec PI for hulls, salvage and rigs, goo for scarcity output.
Yeah, I mean, anyone with a half of a brain cell who've watched Citadels being released and engineering complexes being released knew that these new refinery structures were going to take P4 planetary interaction materials. It's not rocket science.
Which are hard to build too, right?
Yeah, I mean, if PI is not exactly the most fun gameplay in EVE Online. Yeah, it's difficult. It's tedious. So you need the PI for the hull. You also need minerals for the hull, although minerals aren't all that difficult to acquire these days. And then all of these refineries need salvage. A lot of your speculators were buying salvage a long time ago, because if you look at the existing Citadels and existing engineering complexes, you could look at their rigs and see which salvage they were using. But then there were other salvage that wasn't being used, and therefore their prices were rock bottom, and therefore with as little as 5 to 10 billion ISK, you could move into the market and just acquire an obscene amount of that salvage because there was no demand for it. So there was just a glut in supply. And what do you know? When it came time for CCP to release the rigs, a lot of the salvage requirements for those rigs came from those, rock bottom salvage prices, which for folks that had experience watching how engineering complexes were released and citadels were released, CCP tended to, in the past, pick salvage that no one was using to be the ingredients for the new rigs that, hadn't been released yet. So smart people picked up on the pattern and bought in really large quantities, and now that salvage just went through the roof. So those people, they're all rich now. The PI people, smart PI people who've been stockpiling PI for a while, whether it's so that they can insulate themselves from market prices to build their own refineries, or they're just going to wait for the prices to spike and dump it, they're all well off now. And then the Moongoo, I think, is still... that's the one not everyone's sure about, right? Because there's some people that argue, there's huge stockpiles. There's way more stockpiles than what we're going to need in the couple weeks or month period in this glut where there's no Moongoo being produced, and therefore it's not a problem. And there's some people that are highly skeptical that with the active mining, we will ever achieve the output that we've ever had in the past, and therefore Moongoo prices are going to go up and up and up. Well, not up and up and up. They will come down eventually, but it's going to take a while to stabilize.
At this point, I want to introduce somebody I brought into the show, Noisy Gamer. He's around a lot, and he is a low-sec miner that runs around in these very dangerous areas of mining, which very few people do. So it's good to have his perspective on that. I'll also be talking about NCPL's perspective on how they're going to adapt with renting, which is going to be interesting. And the reason that's important is because this was a huge source of income. If you were a renter and you rented off these mercenary groups that could control a lot of territory that you couldn't, so you would go ahead and rent from them and have safety while you harvested the area. Part of the thing that you were paying for was the system. The other part was the moons. And so, because depending on what area, there would be different compositions of moons. Well, that's all changing. And also, do you rent the value of the moon, what it can produce, or do you rent the value of what's actually harvested, which is what the renter would want? So there's these market forces at work there. So we'll talk about what they decided to do as they adjust. Noisy, how are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good.
You looking forward to this? This must be a big expansion for you.
We've got resource wars, which is very interesting. We've got the whole moon mining changes. Unfortunately, because of the moon mining changes, I've been actually mining in high sec because that's where all the minerals are. It's easier to get all the minerals to make all of the probes I'm going to need in order to probe out all the moons.
Wow. So you start at the beginning building probes so that people who want to go and find where the moons are would buy off of you?
Well, I'm not going to sell, but I'm a little bit weird in that I want to know where the good moons are in low sec so I can avoid those areas because that's where all the action's going to be. And since I solo mine in low sec, I want to go where it's quiet.
Right. So you had a plan that was pretty interesting. You were going to I don't know if it was to do it or you really needed to know, but you were going to scan down all the moons in a certain region.
Actually, yeah, my first plan or the first stage, and I don't know if I'll go past this, is I want to scan down every moon in the Minmatar Republic. And once I've done that, I'll know where it's safe to mine, where maybe places where I might want to do a little ninja mining if I feel brave. And things like that. But the first thing is to find out what the new lay of the land is. Yeah.
And for anyone that doubts that Noisy can do it, I would put money on the table that he could, because Noisy is very thorough. And you can tell by reading his blog, The Noisy Gamer, which is what a lot of influential EVE players read just to kind of figure out what the big important stories are, because he does incredible analysis on some of the more important stories.
Yeah. Just one last thing. It's like, some people have like expertise in things, you know, like Tuzzy's like really good at what he does. Jeronica's like fantastic at what he does. I just like do something that like hardly anybody does, and so therefore it just makes me look smart.
Jeronica, the market and NCPL, do you have any idea how they're going to be affected?
I honestly don't know. I'm not part of the moon mining wing of PL or anything. I don't do any moon mining currently.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of outside of my expertise.
You're not connected there with all the resourcing?
No, I do a pretty sizable buyback system, but that's just for ore. But I do plan on doing a moon mining buyback system as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I honestly don't know how it's going to pan out.
Well, I read a document. We can probably post a link to it here. It's a public document now, email that went out to renters. NCPL is going to, NCPL, I don't know what the Guardians are going to do. I think they have renters. Drone Region Federation does have renters. Both Solar Fleet and XIX have renters. And so I'm excluding Darkness from here because I don't know what they're going to do. But NCPL, DRF regions, they're all going to rent their moons out at 25 to 35% flat. That's just what they're going to, and you can mine pretty much anywhere. The moons are no longer exclusive to your area. If you put up like not licensed refineries, they will be taken down. But I think NCPL settled on about 30%. So that range 25 to 35 is the larger renting community, but NCPL people will probably be spending 30% of the moon's like total value, which is interesting because people thought like this is really going to ruin that whole renting concept. Do you think it will, you guys? Anyone?
I think there could have, how do I put this? Why do I want to be a renter in 2017 would be my question. Why not go and join one of the large empires that just allow you to mine on any moon they want? Why go rent?
Well, imagine protection, no?
Well, those big empires, we offer pretty good protection in Delve.
Like, why wouldn't they go to Goonswarm as opposed to...
Right. My thing is, it seems like the folks that relied on a large percentage of their passive income from moon mining, or not passive income, but just income period from moon mining, via passive moon mining, are trying to scramble to find programs that replaces that chunk of income. And I don't know what percentage of that or their income that is. And I know they already have renters to a certain degree, but they basically are wanting to co-opt their renters into exploiting the resources off their moon and then tax that. I suspect, and I'm not 100% on this, that while they may be able to find enough renters to mine some of their moons, I'm not sure they will have enough renters out there spread out across their area to mine all of those moons and keep those belts cleaned up before they despawn. I think it's going to be a really messy business to try to herd cats to manage those guys to be there when the belt is pawned and mine it to 100% and not just mine a half of it or cherry pick the good stuff. And where, like, let's say you take 3 random regions and total up all their moons and say, well, they have a potential to output this per month. If you're mining 100% of that, you're getting all that value, and then you're taxing 30% of it. What if those guys are only able to exploit 75% of the moons or 80% of the moons? I think they're going to take an income hit. I'm not sure the plan of having renters just be your farmers for you is going to work out for everyone.
Mm-hmm. We shall see. But that's how they're going to handle it. I put the document inside of chat here, and I'll put it in show notes too, so people who hear this later can have a look at the document. And it shows that all but our 64 moons will work a certain way. 64 ones, you'll have to put a deposit down. But they actually had a meeting, I guess just Monday of this week, after taking in as much information as they could. They sat down, they mapped out this policy, and they distributed the policy on this last Tuesday, a few days ago, to all the renters, saying this is how it's going to change. And this was going to be what we thought would be a huge and upsetting change to the whole renting model And it remains to be seen how that's going to work out, if it's going to work out.
Yeah, I think it's going to really take maybe this time next year before we can really make that judgment of, hey, did it work for them, or are they still having problems?
Is it going to be hard times, you think, for 6 months?
I think it's going to be really messy that first 6 months, yeah.
Yeah, not just for renters, but everybody, or?
Well, the first couple of weeks is going to be really messy for everyone. We already have we've already stated our policy internally, and we've been fielding 10 or 15 questions a day from random PMs from people who are either not read the policy in full, or they're trying to lawyer the way around this rule or that rule, and I'm like, no, this means this. It's pretty we state it in declarative simple sentences.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see how CCP reacts to a well-organized group that's looking at all the patch changes before they come out, adjusting to them, really landing on the ground running, and everybody else, the small guy that's basically like waiting for the patch to hit, then trying to figure out how it works, then getting involved in the economy. The difference in evolving to what the new realities is going to be huge, and you guys have a ton of people that are doing it. So CCP is looking at a big group that's organized, that's actually going to start working on something right away, and how efficient they're going to be at it versus everybody else who is just getting started. I know this sounds like an infomercial, but I think as a developer, maybe Carneros, you can speak to this, that must be a huge disparity to not let Goonswarm get too far ahead on this while not crushing everybody else that's trying to even get started.
Let me contrast that for a moment with my alliance, which is right alongside Goonswarm in the same home space, and we're all on the same team. I'm one of those alliances that has been relying on Moongoo income to pay the bills. I can no longer do that. I can't put together, as he described, I can't put together a team of volunteers who will go around to each moon we have, harvest all of it manually, what he called it, active messy mining instead of passive mining, and bring 100% of that Moongoo back and donate it all to the Alliance to keep paying the bills. I don't have enough masochists in my Alliance with enough spare time to do that. I don't. And CCP designers don't intend for me to somehow go and recruit enough masochists to do that. That's not their plan.
What is their plan?
I'm not entirely sure, but I don't believe they're trying to convince me to start up a rental empire like UAX Death is running, or Lady Scarlet, or any of that. No, I don't think that's their intention either. I don't have a rental empire. I don't even have anything close to that. I still want to offer SRP, ship replacement program, to my members, because I think that encourages PvP. I think that's a key part of what makes EVE great, is to have organized PvP available a lot of times of the clock for as many people as possible who want to participate in it, and that they can get they can feel good about occasionally losing a ship, because they're going to get it partially reimbursed or completely reimbursed depending on what the situation is. I think that's healthy for the game. I think it's healthy for the economy, because if people are willing to get ships destroyed, that feeds the market demand. I think it's good. It's just good. How can I pay for that? I'm not personally wealthy enough to just buy Plex and fund my Alliance's SRP program. And I don't believe that's what CCP designers intended either. They put a little bit of tax opportunity in it. The Bastion has a small ratting tax. I increased it slightly as part of my mix for how to pay for this new world. I'm going to tax refineries and nationalize them in our space so that I get a little income from that as well. But I don't kid myself. Our income is going way down, and I'm not sure what we're going to do in the future. We're not rich like Goonswarm.
I think another big takeaway from this is it's kind of turned it from a top-down income source to a lot of alliances and groups to a bottom-up from the members. It's kind of a democratized moon goo across New Eden instead of it being an exclusive thing that only alliances get to decide what does with it, and then you can buy it from your alliance or buy it from the market or whatever. But now the source of moon goo is coming from tens of thousands of players who are mining it instead of a couple dozen alliances that own all the towers.
So Carneros, I'm thinking you're kind of nervous.
No, I will adapt to whatever comes,
Mhm.
and I have smart people watching and giving me advice, and it's a video game, so I'm having fun as I do it. And there may be, I assume that in the end there'll be a couple of options, some of which are fun and some of which are not. One that's not fun to me is going to my alliance and asking for donations. Screw that. If that's an option, it's not one I'm going to pick. No, that's not.
You're gonna
That's
put
not
your head
fun.
out like, yeah.
So I'll look at what's going on, and if CCP sees that it's breaking down as a system, they'll make adjustments. But I do anticipate that, and just my guts, and I'm not a market guru, but I expect that the cost of a lot of modules will go up and down. The cost of outfitting a ship, I think there'll be more profit margins for industrialists to build these things, and the cost of stuff will go up. I'm not going to say that a T2 fitted cruiser from last month is going to cost what we expect a T2 fitted battleship to cost in another month or two, but I think it's going to go up. I think that's going to affect the PvP fittings of my fleets. I think that people are going to think of a T2 fitted ship soon as being bling fit. And that disappoints me because as a PvPer, I think it's inherently more fun to fight with the better ships and the better modules.
Let's go to a question here. 2Z, how will goons pay for taxes based on the ledger?
We're not using the ledger at all to begin with.
Oh, by the way, that question's from Icon 911. You're not going to use the ledger.
No. Okay, so think about this, right? The ledger, there's going to be a lot of people that look at the ledger go, ooh, goody, we can tax miners directly. That sounds awful to me. We do not want to open up the GIRS, the Goon Swarm, Internal Revenue Service, and start having tax collectors go around and go, give me my 10,000 units of spot or whatever. The mining ledger is simply a log of what you mine. It's not collected automatically. So if your alliance decides you want to tax 10% of everything that's mined, you then have to code something in your third-party tools to track it, unless you want to sit in the client all day and look. Well, no, personal mining ledgers, you have to access it through the API to look at what everyone's mined if it's not on a alliance refinery, if you're just looking at ore anomalies or whatever. And coming up with some mechanism to look at what they mined and put a value on that ore and then demand a percentage of it. And what if the guy went and reprocessed it and he used shitty reprocessing skills and therefore he doesn't have the minerals to pay you back the tax? Like, it sounds awful. We don't want to take part in any of that. We have what we call nationalized refineries, meaning no private owner, alt corp, member corp will have a refinery down that isn't directly owned by the alliance. And all reprocessing and reactions will take place in those refineries, which we can set a tax rate on. So we kind of are continuing passive income. It's just our own members can go mine it all they want, and then they are going to presumably take it to our refineries and reprocess it to then sell it to another goon who's going to react it or react it themselves. And some will ship it to JITA. But we, in case you haven't noticed, we mine so much in Delve that just a few percentage points of tax will be a lot of tax.
Yeah. Well, what's Horde going to do on this, Jeronica? Do you know what their tax system is like?
So yeah, Horde actually is going to be taxing. They use a tool called I'm pretty sure it's called Square. It's kind of a play on the PL Sphere. But that's basically how they redistribute their ISK made from mining and stuff. So they reward people who do defense fleets and all that stuff. So what they're going to be doing is adding that ledger system into their third-party tool and basically taxing it there before ISK gets sent back, or ISK gets sent back to their members. So they are going to be taxing.
Mhm.
It's on a
So they're going to try it.
way.
They're going to try it a different way then. It's going to be
Yeah.
interesting to see what actually works out. As you can see, even these big organized places they have a way that they're going to try it, but it's not the same for everybody. So there's going to be an evolution of a better idea throughout this next year on how to make this work out. In all these defunct or now defunct spreadsheets, how are people going to get their moon info on such a large scale? Is that something you can talk to?
It's going to take a lot of the alliance members to kind of pitch in to help.
Well,
Because
first,
there are a lot of moons.
let's redefine that question. What's that? What am I trying to say there? People have spreadsheets that figured out where moons were and how much they could get out of it, so they could predict an income.
Oh, so
And
yeah,
now they can't.
pre-patch. All these alliances had all the information about every moon in every region, so they knew where to go right away when they take over a region and put up their moon mining passes and all that. But now all that is pretty much null and void. So it's going to take a little while for people to rescan everything and regenerate their database of moons.
So is there a market for a noisy gamer if he scans down a whole region selling that information?
Oh, definitely. I'm sure there will be more of a mercenary for hire for scanning.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, Carneros, why don't you hire mining mercenaries?
Is that, I don't know. What rental sounds just as good as hiring mining mercenaries.
I wouldn't doubt someone's going to try it. I don't think it's going to work, but
I love that idea, mining mercenaries.
Oh,
New
people are already
professions.
saying that I'm going to be getting all that information anyway from so maybe I'll be selling that.
How are you going to get it? Are you going to pay for it?
Oh, he's going to
Well-
do something lazier. He's going to like let people give him the information.
Because he's so
Exactly, yeah.
likable, right?
Well, no, with my I'm probably going to do a mining leaderboard on for Eve Mogul, and people are saying, why will people do that? But you see it with trading. Why are people trusting me with their trade information? Because it's a lot of information they don't want to look at and kind of analyze. So I'll do that for them.
So when they give you information, do you analyze it for them and advise them, or do they just give it to you because they like you?
It's basically Google Analytics for trading is what I like to kind of
That's the software you've
I
built.
like
We didn't
explain
introduce that at the beginning of the show. Eve Mogul is a website, and it has a lot of tools on it that are
Yeah.
amazing. So check that out. Is that evemogul.com? What is that?
eve-mogul.com.
Yeah, check out that website. That's Jeronica's website. And so you think people will actually upload their information onto it?
I don't know if I'm sure a lot of people are going to be restricting their members from putting it up just because of the security aspect of it. But with trading, it's less of a security hazard because people basically use their own Noob Corp trading alts anyway.
Mm-hmm. Well, we have Aerith and Jay Amazingness in the chat channel. Of course, Aerith is probably laughing at people and saying if you need software, you're a scrub lord.
what, Aerith be smug?
Yeah. Yeah. But this show, I would have invited him on, but this show is really about the logistical challenges that are going to happen, and some of the income changes that will happen as well. But yeah, so from a low-sec perspective, Noisy Gamer, since that's where you do a lot of your mining and stuff like that, what are you hearing on the ground over there?
I'm not hearing that much, just because LoSec's kind of like really getting quiet, and I don't hang around the faction warfare types either, so that makes it even quieter.
Mm-hmm. Right.
One thing that I have heard
Mhm.
is a lot of concern about the moon mining in LoSec, because and the thing that I keep bringing up is, who is going to mine in LoSec? I mean, you can, maybe I'm wrong about this, but it seems that nullsec is going to need more miners. And so if you're a high sec miner that wants to go out and mines and get a better yield, you're going to go to a high sec corporation. Maybe you go to Horde, maybe you go to Karma Fleet, or any of these organizations that can provide you more safety and better yields than you can possibly get in LoSec.
I think the LoSec mining dynamic is going to be one of the biggest things that surprises people in the coming year, because you have all of these big LoSec entities panicking because their passive moon mining is going away, and they're trying to, you've got different groups joining other big alliances, moving on into nullsec, getting out of LoSec because they're worried that we don't want to mine these moons, and that's our 100% of our income, or most of our income comes from that. And I think there's going to be a void there that has to be filled by somebody. And I think there's a potential for a lot of high sec people to dip their toes into nullsec, and maybe 6 months from now, there's all sorts of new entities that have formed that you've never heard of before, that are the new LoSec guys, that maybe they don't really, kind of LSH kind of has claim to Iridia. They control a lot of Iridia. You don't want to fly your super through Iridia for fear of
Losecnia Shulpin.
Yeah.
Russian PL that kills bigger ships as they go through. They're ambushers.
Right. So there were in the last few years other LoSec groups around the circle of HighSec that pretty much laid claim to this little corner of LoSec, or this corner over here. And those have mostly fled to nullsec or broken up and joined other groups. I think you're going to now see a massive balkanization of the little corners of LoSec being claimed by these new groups coming in from HighSec. That's like, oh, well, we found this one moon here. Let's go put a refinery on it and we'll have that. Oh, wait, now that we're in this system, we found 2 more moons in that system. Let's put refineries on those. And oh, shoot, now our ships are getting ganked. Let's get some PvP guys in to guard us. And, over time, they will build up and get larger, and maybe groups will merge, and you'll have a whole new dynamic of people that weren't scared of this new mining gameplay and, dove in head first. And a year from now, they're the new LoSec kings.
Yeah, and I think it helps that CCP made a decision recently to allow this kind of mining in Empire space at 0.5 and below. 0.5, you're actually safe because Concord will protect you. So you can get used to this system, and then it's a small step to LoSec where it's more dangerous. And I think also in wormholes, you can use the same system. You may not be able to get moon material per se, but you'll be able to generate asteroids to do your own mining on demand.
This also goes into my argument that there's going to be a very rocky 6 months or so, maybe 12 months in this first year, and that the total output of all moon goo being mined is going to go way down, at least for some weeks or months, because all of LoSec, nullsec will within a few months tower all their moons, or I keep saying tower because that's what I'm used to saying, but put refineries on all their moons and start mining them, whether it be renters or their own guys or whatever. But it's going to take a lot longer for LoSec to build that output back up. Maybe never. And I still think the future output of moon goo is going to be way less than it is now, unless CCP could 4 months down the road go, oh shit, the market is really out of whack. We need to buff moon goo. And they, put out a patch, and all of a sudden, all the rocks in nullsec have double the moon goo in them that they had the day before. They, they could turn the knob left or right and tweak things, but I think they themselves don't know what's going to happen, and they also need to wait and see.
Yeah, and again, go ahead, Noisy.
Yeah, I'm just going to say, players in EVE Online are very risk averse. And if you're going to go ahead and put yourself in more danger, you're going to go and look for the highest yield you can. And quite frankly, that's in nullsec. That's not in low.
Right. And then you start looking at joining a bigger group or renting space from a bigger mercenary group. Also, a 0.5 space is safe with Concord protections, but it's also a haven for gankers. So 0.5 is not going to, once you like establish yourself in 0.5 space and get killed a few times by, gankers for high sec, you're going to think, well, if I'm getting killed anyway, I might as well try to get a little bit more and go into low sec. I think that's a really healthy development for the game, because everybody speaks of low sec in terms of, hey, there's nothing to kill here anymore. Low sec sucks. And it's like, well, sure, because you're this massive institute, you have massive capabilities with super capitals and titans, and you're projecting that on little groups that kind of forage into your area sometimes. And so, of course, the fish are going to dry up if you overfish. But what nobody ever talks about is, how does CCP incentivize risk-averse people from going into low sec to do the harvesting stuff, so they can be victims for the carnivores, basically.
Until today, or until next Tuesday, all the different big low sec groups, and I stay in null sec. I just mine my fields of citadels. I don't really pay attention to the politics of low sec, but there's big, powerful low sec groups that have supers and titans and dreads and hundreds and maybe thousands of members, and they have had the power to tower all the R64s and R32s, and if you come attack one of their posses, they drop the world on you and you have to run off back to high sec. A lot of those groups are not going to try to put down refineries in low sec and mine these moons. And as soon as some ambitious little high sec guy discovers that there's a moon over here that I can get 10 billion ISK a month out of, he's going to get together a group of people and they're going to go try to mine it. The incentive is the democratization of allowing these most valuable things in the game to be mined by people that have never had the ability to do it before.
Yeah. And Carneros, that seems to be the gameplay right there, right? It seems like CCP constantly wants to lower the bar of entry for newer people, so that this isn't a game dominated by people who've been here 10 years.
And that's a valid viewpoint, and they're also a fan of small game warfare and like to push things in that direction. It's not my favorite, but that's what they like.
Well, the safety in numbers thing is kind of broken, because I mean, look at my alliance. It's Northern Coalition. If we're in the same area, it's very difficult to beat us because we can drop an immense amount of big machines, basically. So at a certain point, anybody who's challenging us has to be one of three groups that can possibly, face that. But that's not necessarily good gameplay, because all these people really only fight when they can find a peer to fight with that's about equal. And so all these little opportunities for small fights kind of never happen. And it's the safety in numbers overrides that sense of culture. Like, I don't really like these guys, but I'm gonna fly with them anyway, because if I don't fly with them, I'll be killed by them.
I'm getting lots of opportunities to beat in small gang fights. I am, and I just want the option of being in the big ones too. I like the mix. I don't want to,
Yeah, that's a good point. Is people want both? Some days big ones, some days small fights and stuff. All right. Well, let's move on then. Is there anything else we didn't cover for these? I mean, there's a lot of stuff we didn't cover because there's a lot of unknowns. But Tuzi, what some of the things that maybe we didn't cover yet?
I'm looking over the notes I had made last night. I've covered active versus inactive, passive versus, or rather the spec stuff, the delay in the output ramp up, chance of CCP making changes, expansion of Rendell empires. I mean, I could see there being a new meta where we're already kind of there, where there's almost way more. I mean, if you would have went back to 2013 and said, in 2017, everyone would be miners, you would have gotten laughed out of the room, because mining used to be the lowest form of anything. In Goonswarm, at least, we laughed at the guys that were like multi-boxing, 10 procures or something. It's like, God, that's awful. Why would you ever want to do that? And now look at us.
Yeah. Right,
exactly. I I mean, I still think this has a potential of having even more people getting into mining that have never done it before for whatever reason.
Well, takes you back to the beginning of the game, doesn't it? Because everybody was a warrior at night and a miner in the daytime. Like you had to build your own ships a lot.
Yeah.
The market wasn't as healthy as it is now.
Yeah, I think all of the points I wrote, kind of jotted down last night. I think I've covered everything. I'll probably get yelled at by Aerith later for forgetting to mention
Some obvious.
But
all right, we'll cover this again a couple weeks after this gets going, because it's going to be a long time before it really unfolds. But we'll see patterns or talk about. Just some
one thing: the blueprints. I didn't mention blueprint prices. The mediums are, I think, 5.5 bill. The larges are 40 bill. And one of the initial bottlenecks, at least in the first couple of weeks, is making that decision of how many blueprints do we buy. We're going to want to put down both mediums and larges. And if we need to put down 50 larges, having just one blueprint to get into research and then copy off of, it's going to take forever to build up enough. But if we buy, 10 blueprints at 40 billion ISK apiece, sure, we can ramp up quickly, but once we're there, that's a big waste of ISK to buy that many blueprints. So there's going to be a lot of people that are trying to make that decision. Do I buy one of each? Do I buy two of each? Do I buy 10 mediums and 3 larges? That's a big question. Everyone's like, oh, are you guys going to be ready to drop, 100 refineries in 3 days? It's like, no, the bottleneck is going to be how many blueprints do you buy? And there's going to be there's some entities that we can afford to buy a ton. We can afford to buy how many ever we want to buy. But there's a lot of entities that don't have a spare 200 billion to drop on a bunch of 40 billion ISK and 5 billion ISK apiece blueprints. And therefore, the region that they may have military control over may take 2 months or more before they have enough damn blueprints to be able to put these refineries down. That's another potential bottleneck in this whole process.
Yeah, initially, until there's cheap copies to purchase off the market. But those will probably be expensive for a while. But yeah, how fast do you produce these things? Are you in a hurry? There's also the issue of stockpiles re-entering the marketplace, right, Jeronica? Isn't that what happens after these sort of perceived shortages?
Yeah. You mean about the PI and all that, or?
Yeah, are people going to dump their PI or their moon minerals that are already refined?
I think it's about 50-50 with people who are buying PI to build with and people who buy it to resell later.
You think the stockpiles will meet demand after everything stops?
So. I don't think it will at all.
Yeah,
I think it will keep going up.
If you go look at, there are already a few simple and complex reaction types on JITA that I checked last night that are getting pretty thin on supply.
Oh, so the bottleneck's already starting. It's going to be interesting to see, like, if people want to cash out by selling it, and how soon do they do that? Like, when's the real pain hit where people will pay a lot of money for the stuff? Because they probably have some reserves in equipment already. And so the equipment doesn't need to be replaced yet and stuff. So they don't have the demand on the materials to make the equipment yet. So they don't have the demands on the resources to make the materials that make the ships and equipment yet. So I wonder how long that supply line takes to really take hold. So the spike may not happen right away, right after all this happens. It may happen in a month or two. And
in my post, I said that I think there's going to be a minimum of 10 to 18 days of very little to no goo being mined or putting back into the market. And then it's just a function of how fast can people put them down and exploit the outputs thereafter. I don't know whether that's a month, 2 months, 6 months.
And that really depends on how much waste CCP is calculated into the moon minerals too. So that's
exactly that too.
Yeah. All right, cool.
A lot of it comes down to the new seed and how many moons there are and how much ore is in those moons and so forth.
And nobody knows that until Tuesday.
Right, exactly. And really no one knows it until 2, 3, 4, 5 days after Tuesday when they have a chance to scan everything.
You hear that, Noisy? Get to work. But are the BPOs out now?
Nope. Unlike previous patches, CCP has deliberately held off putting the blueprints in the game until patch day. So I don't remember which patch, but there was another patch they released them early, and we bought them ahead of time and had them all researched and ready to go on day one. But they haven't done that with this patch. Yeah,
I think they deliberately said this is going to be a land rush. Like they're putting everything on that one day to the next, the world's going to change.
Yeah, there's someone at CCP that's been sitting there laughing at us like they were killing us because we only found out about salvage lists on the blueprints of the mining rigs last Monday. We had the reaction rigs, we had the reprocessing rigs, I don't know, a couple weeks ago, a month ago or so, and we're like, where's the goddamn refining rig? And I happened to refresh Hobo Leaks and saw that, it was updated 4 minutes ago. Let me go, there they are. And then I quickly went to our finance and told all of our guys. And then, 20 minutes later, JITA was through the roof on those salvage already. So,
wow.
Yeah, it's quick when it happens because everyone knows what to look for. But yeah, they kept saying, we're still deciding what they're going to be. I'm not convinced. I think they deliberately held off on that just to make it as stressful on us as possible.
Well, wait a minute. That's still stuff off the test server, so they may possibly change.
Right. Yeah. No, exactly. They could very well. I told someone the other day, probably Fozzie has an alarm clock set to 2 hours before downtime on Tuesday, and he's going to wake up and change all the rig blueprints again at the last minute just to screw with us. But it could change.
And that would be interesting. And they've done that before. They haven't changed on the fly like that, but they did say we're going to have freighters be able to be rigged. So people bought up all the rigged stuff for freighters, and then feedback, a few weeks later, they said, we're not going to do that. So all those people that bought that stuff were just kind of out that money.
Yeah. And the other thing about salvage is there's just, if you total up how many moons you think there's going to be in all the different regions across the game and say everyone's going to put a refinery, in a perfect world, everyone will put a refinery on every moon and every refinery will have rigs. And you do the math on how much salvage that needs. And you look at like the last 6 months of the amount of salvage that's been on the market in JITA, and you're like, there's not enough salvage. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
Well, JITA Alt says that the CCP has announced that the CC numbers are locked in. So, and it kind of makes sense this close to it.
That's exactly what they want you to think.
Yeah, who knows? They could be totally meta playing us, but it's not real until it's in Tranquility server, the actual gameplay server. But yeah. All right, there's other stuff too. Let's go through some player news real quick, and then we'll come back to the stuff that's going to be in this patch in general, so we can cover some of these other features that are coming, because it's not all about moons. But in player news, we have round 2 of Guardians fighting DRF. DRF and Guardians War will be covered on the Meta Show later today with Boat and the Mittani. So you can tune in there. They'll have a bunch of guests. But that time, we reported last week, we had the DRF guys here that won a great big victory, nearly $1 trillion in damages. But they did manage to defend their space and kill a forward operating base that Guardians was putting in their territory that was a keep star. Big win for them. There was a round 2, this time supported by PL. Guardians was managed to put a smaller citadel into that same system. So they have a little bit of a beachhead that may support the putting in of a bigger beachhead, the keep star. So we'll see what happens there. That seems to be heating up. At the same time, DRF are fighting on the south area as well against Triumvirate and others. Looks like Horde and Fraternity had a big fight that was about 3 hours with no tie-dye, which is exhausting. But those guys all looked like, they were inebriated after it was over, because they were so back-slapping happy at each other, saying, "Thank you, you guys were awesome," to the enemy. Us older EVE players like to hold grudges and want, that fuel the next fight. But sometimes when you have a good fight, you got to tell the people that delivered it, thank you. So that's a Horde and Fraternity there. And PL bad press. I know you're in PL, Dronica. Are you still, by the way? You still PL? Oh, I think Skype just totally froze up. You guys can still hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Are we checked out?
Dronica, say something.
Hi.
Oh, it's me that froze.
Yeah, I think Matterall is frozen. I think the rest of us are okay.
Yep, the rest of us are fine.
That wouldn't be a podcast or video show of some type on the internet if Skype didn't somehow mess up.
Amen.
Starting the call back up. Check.
Wow, you recovered
There.
really quick.
All right, we recovered. We are recovering.
We're
You guys
getting
can hear me, right?
double audio on you. I think you're on Skype. You need to mute your Skype.
There. Okay. How am I
Yeah.
back? All right. Let's pick it up where we left off. Sorry about that. I seem to have paused, but we are clear again. So where did I leave off? What was the last thing you guys heard? Did I cover Horde and Fraternity having a 3-hour fight?
You did.
Yeah.
Okay, good. And PL having some bad press. In fact, that's where my signal broke. I wonder if I've been hacked again, because I was hacked earlier this week. Yeah, if you saw an article published on INN from me, that wasn't me. That was some bot. People who know me knew that that was not something I was interested in, so they quickly took that off INN. But I was hacked, and that was put on there. But yeah, PL having some bad press earlier in the week on Reddit. That thread was removed after it just grew out of control. I think it was essentially adversity.
Yeah, adversity. Still there?
Yeah, I think we lost your audio, Matterall. We can't hear you.
Check.
Yeah, gotcha.
Is there much to say about that? The PL
That was the thread that just kept on giving.
for you?
Yeah, I was just popcorn watching, reading.
It was a big headache for PL, I think, having that kind of bad press. But then there's more bad press, right? Waffles kicks a Nidhogger pilot for participating in a memorial roam. I don't know the details of these things, but these are headaches for PL, because now Waffles is going to join PL and be the same group. So it's drama for them that they don't need, probably.
All
right.
And it's also
Yeah.
been interested to see if you've been following a lot of the. I have a Twitter list. The Twitter client I use allows me to put up it's sort of like TweetDeck, but you can do a lot of different Twitter lists. And on one of my Twitter lists, I follow the Zkill stream of all kills, all valued over 10 billion ISK. And I've been seeing quite a few kills pop up on that stream that I think have been happening up in Pureblind, Fade, Branch, Declan area, like Horde and Guardians of the Galaxies, that groups from Adversity that's been dread bombing Hells and Carriers and Rorquals, and they've been getting lots of kills. So it seems like whatever drama transpired between Adversity and PL has sort of lit a fire under Adversity to strike back. It sounds like from that thread they were told they weren't allowed to attack certain people, and they either were kicked out or quit and are now attacking those people they wanted to attack. So that's been interesting to watch.
Did we ever say why Adversity left, and what made that happen?
According to the thread, it seemed like there was some disagreement in that they wanted to attack members of another alliance or renters that were neutral to them, but were told they weren't allowed to because of diplomatic reasons, and they didn't like this. There was some argument that they wanted to either set them blue to know that they're blue and therefore they couldn't attack them, or be allowed to attack neutrals.
I don't know if that was the reason why they got kicked.
Yeah, I don't know exactly why, but that's what was on the SoundCloud.
Yeah, that happened actually a couple months ago, I believe.
So someone's just bringing up dirty laundry there.
You guys can hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Great. Okay. Sorry about the technical problems. My internet appears to be choking out. Okay, so go ahead.
Let's go on to the next thing for a second then. Eve survival. So this was a horrible situation. So the guy decides to make this Eve survival resource. He decides to reach out to the community and see if he can get more people to help run it, so that kind of open it up to more contributors and make it less susceptible to his time availability. Get it out there. So he packages it up and offers it to people to take the source code and maybe improve on it and maintain it and do it as a group thing. Am I getting that right? But accidentally distributes the entire database mixed into it of all the user accounts and their passwords. And he, by the way, did not have them properly secured. So they're completely readable inside the distribution. So then it gets communicated to the community that, oh, wait, if you had a login on Eve Survival, go change your password because that just got leaked or hacked or something. It wasn't actually a hack. It just got accidentally distributed. Yeah.
It was encrypted in something called MD5, which is a kind of very fairly generic vanilla way that isn't really considered to be secure anymore.
Okay.
And therefore is very easily reverse engineered. You can just do a Google search for MD5 parser and copy and paste the hashed password in and hit a button, and it tells you in plain text what it was. So it was like, a script kiddie could figure out how to reverse engineer people's passwords. It was, I don't know whose fault it is there. Maybe the guy who turned over the database should have thought about what was stored in the database before he did.
He did have something though that wasn't just total text, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean it was still a hash, but it was something called MD5, and any developer will tell you that that's like, you don't rely on MD5 anymore.
All right, Carneros. In meta news, the Neocom 2 is out, right?
Yes, it has a new interface. It's very good. I like it. I've been using it for a few days now. Mm-hmm. You're gonna. It's not super optimized for adding, 50 characters at the same time, but you only have to go through that once you get all your characters in there and get them each authorized through the new login system, and so you'll have to log into your account each time once and then pick the characters that you want out of it, and then you go log into the next account. But it's fantastic. It has a bunch of new stuff in there. I'm getting a good use out of some of the new functionality, such as telling me when my jump clones are ready, for example, and where I have a clone in what station and what implants are in it. And that's super helpful.
And it can see Citadel assets now for the first time. The old Neocom couldn't do that.
Huge.
And I have, I'm a small-time multi-boxer. I only have 15 characters, but it only took me about 10 minutes to get them all inputted. It wasn't that bad.
You can send email too. Did you cover that? That to me seems like a.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, I don't. Are you talking about in-game email?
You can do in-game email. We lost you again, Matterall. All right, no gun. Put the gun down.
Yeah, if it's in-game email, I probably didn't notice it because I don't touch in-game email ever. But that is, I could see being useful to someone.
Yeah, that would be useful to me, especially if I'm traveling or somewhere, stuck somewhere in a long meeting at work. Not that I would ever do that. Oh, wait. There's a community fittings initiative. Who does anyone know anything about that one?
I saw the thread. I didn't really pay much attention to it. It seems like the gist I saw was that they're allowing the community to come together to offer default generic fits for a lot of popular ships so that they can encourage new players that don't know how to fit a ship. Just use this as an example. Is that right?
Well, do you remember there was a website where we used to, I'm going to say 8 years ago, that people used to go to for some of those fittings?
Yeah, I used to. It interfaced with EveMon, right? It was,
yes.
And half the time it was really old and outdated fittings because it had stopped being updated a long time ago. But yeah,
they were troll fittings that people put up there for the hell of it.
Was it Battle Clinic?
Yes, there you go, Battle Clinic.
I'm worried that this would turn into Battle Clinic 2.0 eventually.
With a bunch of troll fits and all that? I feel that too.
Your mileage may vary, folks. Don't believe everything you read on the internet.
What, you don't want to put Higgs rigs on your T2 Logi anchor?
Well, it depends what you're trying to do.
But these will be curated, won't they? Like by CCP?
Oh, maybe. Welcome back.
Yeah, I think the idea is it comes to them, they sort them out to clean it, to keep it clean.
Yeah, I think they're soliciting fit submissions from the community, and they pick one, and that's the one that's locked in that they recommend.
I
that
heard
would
it was
solve that problem.
Yeah, I heard it was supposed to be like a couple fits, and also that ISD was going to be like doing the first pass, looking for good things and bad things, and then maybe then it would go to a CCP dev for final judgment. I'm not sure though.
Yeah.
Good
Okay.
idea.
You want to take us to the next one too?
Yep. Okay, CCP added, I guess this is being added actually on Tuesday, which is the ability to self-destruct your pod while inside a citadel. I think that's very cool.
It's quicker. You can wait 3 seconds instead of 2 minutes, and you could do this in a station, but you couldn't do it in citadels. So this is just kind of a catch-up feature.
Yet another piece of functionality from stations finally making it in the citadels too, to bring them up to same level of functionality.
Do you guys live in citadels? You must all live in citadels, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't.
I went
live in a
into a
station.
station for the first time the other day in like 5 months.
I'll tell you why. One is stations have more character, right? They have
They're
different
cold and
voices.
drafty. What are you talking about?
They are cold and drafty, but I don't know. I think I'm old school, but I still this really ticked me off. I put some jobs into research at some facility where I paid my rent, right? I was like, I'm going to help somebody out. I'll pay, what they're asking, and then I'll research some stuff. Well, it all stopped for some reason. And I think
Because it ran out of fuel, probably.
yeah. And I said, oh, this is a bug. So I contacted CCP. It turns out, yeah, it's not a bug, that if that happens, that's on you. So I paid this guy rent. I'm researching, and my jobs get stuck like a day before they're supposed to come out. Like, that's not going to be. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going back to stations. Sorry, guys. I want to help you out. I want to rent in your stations and give you guys some.
The way that you make sure your industry jobs never run out of fuel takes a lot of time, but you join the logistics division of your alliance and spend a couple years in it and eventually get promoted up to director and eventually get promoted up to head director. And then you can make sure that citadels that you research in are always fuel.
That's what it takes.
It's a very long con here.
Yeah. Well, that's too bad, because there need to be safeguards for the renters so that they'll be more willing to kind of risk, a long research job.
Are people who do not have when you go to your structure browser, I've never checked this, and you don't have roles to own a citadel or drop one or whatever, can you still see the fuel timer on the citadel, or is that for just owners of the citadels?
As a player, I wouldn't know where to look for that.
Okay.
So I don't know.
If you are someone who has the
don't
corporation
think so.
role, station manager, in the structure browser on citadels that your corporation owns, there's a little timer, just like you can pull from the API on POSes that tells you how many days until the fuel runs out. And we have tools that, look for that in the API and let us know, and we go and keep them all refueled.
Yeah, Rathkatan
that's
here
what I do.
in chat.
Yeah.
Sorry, Rathkatan here said in chat that you cannot see that if you don't have roles.
Yeah, so that's I don't know what to do about that, because on the one hand, you kind of want to know, is this thing going to run out of fuel in one day? But on the other hand, that's sort of valuable intelligence potentially that you don't want to publicly give out.
Right. And Apple Pear here says, we'll just drop your own. But then everybody drops their own. And it's like there's thousands of citadels. And there's no like gameplay with strangers, which is kind of neat, I think. That was one of the neat things is, I don't know who you are, but you set up shop and I'm going to shop in your shop. And so they need to figure that out, because really running a research job, having it stick at the last second really sucks. And with no way to turn it back on, right? Once the fuel gets put in there or whatever.
Yeah, it would be cool if you were able to just deposit your own fuel if you're a member.
Well,
yeah.
they did make it a while back so that if you can gun a Citadel, then you can also put fuel in it, which was a big help for us because we have way more people in the Alliance that can gun Citadels than actually have that station manager role, which can do all sorts of other destructive things like change the access list and other things we don't want to just give out to everyone. So we went from having like 6 people total that could fuel Citadels to hundreds of people that could fuel Citadels, which is a big life improvement for us.
Yeah. Well, CCP needs to tweak it a little bit because these permissions, man, they're like it. That's the major thinking needs to go into that to make people play together in a safe way. Yeah.
Access lists were a huge improvement over old school corporals, but I really think there could be some further tweaks that make things better.
Yeah. All right. What else we got, Carneros?
That's what we had for the player news and some of the game news. We didn't go over everything coming on the update on Tuesday. There's still, for example, we didn't talk much about the Alpha ship rebalance.
Mhm.
We didn't spend a lot of time on the Guristas shipyards, which if I heard correctly, are supposed to be slightly more difficult than the Blood Raider shipyards. So expect the improvements in what they're learning to have been applied to this new shipyard and for them to be slightly more challenging.
And they did a big mass test earlier this week on CC with those too. I didn't do it myself, but I
didn't either.
Yeah.
The Cayman Dread and the Komodo Titan are going to be, just a quick reminder, are going to be slightly unusual in that they're going to be the only Dreadnought and Titan that will fly fighters also. So they're going to be almost like a little bit of chocolate with your peanut butter, a little bit of a carrier with your Dread and a little bit of super carrier with your Titan. It's a nod to the Galente affinity for drones and specialization with fighters. So I think it's kind of cool. Yay, something special for the Guristas.
I love that analogy.
And then my guess is, sorry about the background noise. My guess is that very next, I think the Angels might be the next shipyards, and they'll be more difficult than the Guristas. And we have been starting to see some more Molochs sneak out into the wild recently. Not a lot. It's a very slow trickle, but they're occurring.
Yeah. So I imagine then that the Imperium is starting to farm them or to do them, or somebody is.
No comment.
Farm's not the right word. They're much more. It's a much more exclusive thing than that. It's like they're handcrafted very slowly. We'll put it that way. And then we didn't mention at all the Marshall battleship, which is also supposed to be coming out on Tuesday.
Yeah, it is a limited release though, so that's why I shy away from it because it's really just going to make people jealous.
But if you're absolutely desperate, someone will probably sell theirs, and you'll get them in Jeddah for Sorry about that.
Yeah,
dear God,
it's all right. It sounds like they're building you a wall.
The neighbors are killing me.
Is that neighbors? Wow. That's okay. I'll finish up. I think I'm stable again. Thank you for covering while I was having outages. The resource wars, though, we're going to stick around for another few minutes if that's okay. Resource wars. Let's talk about those. Anybody know how those are going to work?
Yeah. Basically, they're going to be in HiSec only. There's depending on the republic that you are, or the empire that you're in, the NPC empire that you're in, those are the ships that you're going to be restricted to flying. So if you are in the Minmatar Republic, you can only fly Minmatar ships. The level 1s, you can only bring in Ventures. The level 2s, you can bring in Ventures and Prospects. The level 3s, you can bring in mining barges, and the level 4s, you can bring in exhumers. So it scales up that way. Currently on the test server, the only rewards that you can get for your loyalty points are packages where you can get either a Tech 1 frigate, a Tech 1 cruiser, a Tech 1 battle cruiser, or a Tech 1 battleship. So it seems that those rewards are being aimed towards alpha players that can only fly Tech 1.
Mhm.
And despite what you may have heard, I know that you can solo level 1 and level 2s.
Oh, have you done that?
Yeah, and for the level 1s, I watched Johnny Pugh yesterday solo one an adventure in a very low skill clone. So I know it's possible to do that, but I've personally soloed level 1s and level 2s multiple times.
I heard that you had to self-destruct because you couldn't break their tank and they couldn't break yours, but they wouldn't let you get away.
That was Warzone Extractions.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I wound up having to self-destruct.
That's kind of funny. It's like, come on, nobody's having any fun here. Let me just go. So, is that the pirate forward operating bases that you're talking about? Is
No,
that where
those
that
were
happened?
no. I actually I haven't gone into a forward operating base because one, you have to actually probe them down, and I've been busy. There's so much coming in Lifeblood that I haven't had time to go through everything.
Yeah.
So because you have to one, probe them down, and two, they're supposed to be so bad that you can't solo them, that I've concentrated on things like the Resource Wars and the Crimson Harvest events.
Yeah. There is a lot here. I don't know if people realize it because it does feel like it's not everything that was promised in the winter, but there is so much here. I mean, can you imagine stations like being up for grabs now? It would be too much, really.
And I think that's partially why they pushed it back a little bit. Also, if in one of the Q&As from Vegas, Fozzie or someone said they're kind of nervous about making the change because they're worried about making sure everyone's items that are in the old stations make it into the new citadels once they transition over. And so they're double checking and triple checking and quadruple checking that whatever code they've got to make sure everyone's assets appear in these new faction citadels it's going to work 100%. And there's not going to be any issues, which is why they've kind of pushed this back a few more months because they want to be doubly sure of that. And there's already a lot of change coming in this patch, and they think that's just too much.
Yeah.
And I don't fault them for that. Like that
Amen.
kind of thing makes me nervous when I do like my actual job with servers and stuff, making sure the database is copied properly, all that. You want to get that right.
Right. And even though they've broken off a few big things for later, for January or later, this is still a huge expansion. And as Noisy was saying, he's not even able to get through all the things that he wanted to test and stuff like that. And then there's so many unknowns that you can't even test that are hitting. It's just going to be, it's going to be kind of crazy. I think it's going to be pretty interesting to watch. Yeah, and then we have also the besides the forward operating bases, which are pirate based, very difficult gameplay. I think that's kind of high end NPC stuff, right?
Yeah, it's high. I think it's supposed to be kind of like maybe a little bit easier incursions and definitely easier like shipyards. So that's number one. The funny thing, or maybe I think everybody in Nullsec will think this is funny, is that for the people in HiSec, if they don't wipe out the forward operating base, then the pirates, either the Blood Raiders or the Guaristas, will then use those bases as a platform, as a home to attack players in the area, including attacking structures that are vulnerable.
Basically, they're now Citadel janitors.
Yep, which HiSec can probably use.
Well, that was a big complaint, right? Too many citadels everywhere, dead citadels, clear them out. So I guess they're working on that. Requiem Eve in chat asks, will there be a market for faction citadels, or will they just be vanity items? Welcome back, Jeronica.
Hey, sorry.
I wonder about that. Maybe you would know, Jeronica. Faction citadels later on in January and beyond, are those gonna be sold, or do you think they'll just be taken as prizes?
I think they'll be sold to people who
Yeah.
just want it. There'll be more vanity, in my opinion. Because if you unanchor them, you lose those rigs as well.
Yeah. That's the big thing, is you can't unanchor them.
Yeah.
I mean, you can, but you lose the rigs. And keep in mind, there's going to be a difference between the original seated stations, and I always mix up the names on
Right.
which one's an outpost and which one's a whatever the other one's called. But there's the original seated ones by CCP, which are going to be better, a step above
Mhm.
all existing structures. And then there's going to be the player dropped eggs, which are going to be slightly less than what a T2 rigged of that equivalent version will be, and therefore I think the ones that are player dropped have more potential to be vanity ones that people want to go and take your Citadel and carry it back to their house and put it on their doorstep as a trophy, whereas the outpost ones may actually be valuable if you happen to own that space or to blow up the other guys. But I don't see them being anchored and sold. I don't know, maybe some rich guy wants to buy it just to say he has a VFK or whatever, but we'll see. And part of it is I think my memory is that CCP has told us a little bit about their bonuses, or maybe have given us some vague descriptions of it, but until we get the hard data on like the rig bonuses and the whole bonuses and all that, we can't really make too much decision now.
Yeah,
about
people don't know
Yeah.
how motivated other people will be
Right.
to get things and stuff like that. But it is an interesting question to figure out, like if things will be sold on the market or yeah. And the difference is the stations were the things that were dropped in through CCP. They put in a certain amount of stations. I forget what that number is, but it wasn't very high. And then there were also outposts. Those are the ones the players put out.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, real quick, we'll just finish up here. The agency. Is anybody as excited about the agency as I am? Or am I the only one? I think that is one of the things this game needs that I think third-party like players tried to do in different ways for meta, right? Like Dotland tried to do this, Eve Radio tried to do this, all kinds of different angles on tell me what's going on in Eve right now.
Yeah, that's the content finder, right?
Yes, the content finder. That to me is just a huge plus, and they can only build on it. So over time, when you get into Eve, you'll be able to look around your neighborhood and see what's going on and what to get involved with. If you wanted to play alone, it's a great way to just integrate yourself temporarily into groups and stuff.
Yeah, I think it's great for new players and all that, but as a null set guy who's been playing for 10 years, I'm not too excited about it for myself.
Veronica?
I think it's going to be really cool and really useful for new players, and just a good thing for CCP to base other things off of.
Yeah.
Like it could replace the calendar system. It could do a lot of things.
Sure. And for solo players, because one of the things about getting older while you play a video game, because 10 years, 15 years on, you move in different stages of your life. So you need to, in order to continue to play Eve, it needs to conform around your life. And being in college and playing Eve until 4 a.m. is one thing, but being a father of a young child or a mother of a young child, that's a whole different thing.
Yeah, it's part of why I do logistics stuff, because a lot of the stuff we do, I can do on my own pace at my own time. I'm not having to sit in a channel and follow FC's orders for 3 hours at a time uninterrupted. I can't do that kind of stuff anymore.
Yeah. What bothers me is I can't do small gang because I have to be able to get up at any moment and leave. And so I can't be a scout that people depend on, and I can't be an FC, which sucks because that's really what I want to do. Alpha ship rebalance. I don't know much about that. Do you guys?
I like what they've done with the arbitrator. I like that third missile slot. I actually was running around with that one on Singularity. The Bellicose got a much needed buff. It's got a longer lock range, which I think will help it be a better support vessel, at least, especially for missile launchers launching ships. Let's see. And I didn't really test too many other ships out.
Mm-hmm.
I think the potential for alphas to fly battlecruisers and battleships could potentially be very big. We'll have to see, though.
Yeah, some people are very excited about this. But the alphas, they're going to get a lot more room later on. I
Yeah.
think when they're able to fly up to T1 or with T1 ships up to the battleship. So this may mean less later on, but it's a good adjustment for people who are just starting the game, which is probably nobody listening to this show unless they have
I mean, it
friends.
has the potential to get a lot more people in the game and active, and not, even bitter vets that are like, I'm casual now and I don't want to have to rat up $1.5 billion to pay for a Plex, but I could take my 150 million skill point alpha, and he still got enough skill points and skills in alpha stage to fly an APOC or something and join fleet, once a week or whatever. It's just that has a potential to get more people into playing the game and have things feel more populated, more active, more people in fleet.
I think it's going to help with that regard too, because a lot of old players who quit the game.
You're in demand.
Call them back, but a lot of old players who have played the game but quit, they might come back if they can see that they can just hop in alpha and fly the Macario.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah. And I think the people are going to benefit from that, so that is going to be people with a lot of gamers that left over time and can come back to friends that are still playing. That's going to be the benefit there. But yeah, I think Carneros and I were talking to CCP Rise about that feature and how they were excited about that, and why they did it and stuff like that. Because we were kicking around ideas. So it is going to be interesting to see like how the population reacts to these changes that are made, kind of for lower, I guess, experienced players, people who are just coming into the game. All right. I think that we have kind of gone through all topics I wanted to go through. Is there anything else that you guys want to discuss before we take off? If not, we just want to thank people who subscribed during the show. And I think we actually had some bits there. I'll call out those names in just a second.
Thank you to Freedom Tower. And thank you to Condor Plays.
Excellent. Thank you, Carneros. I think Eve Amsterdam is coming up, isn't it?
Yes.
I don't know when it is, but it's coming up soon. That's the next one. It usually happens after Eve Vegas. The next one is Amsterdam, and then in the spring you have FanFest again. So as far as like player meetups, look around for regional ones, but there's definitely Amsterdam coming up pretty soon.
Ninja shout out to the initiative who are having a little local player meetup in my town tonight. And
San Diego?
Come crash it and drink with them.
So the initiative's meeting in San Diego?
Not all of them, but a few of them are. And
nice.
They dragged me in, and we're going to go have fun tonight. Come on down if you're bored.
I would make it down there. I may be busy, but if something comes up, if nothing comes up, maybe I'll race down there and do a surprise visit with you. It's always nice hanging out with you, a wine connoisseur that knows what to drink. It's always good. All right. So that about wraps it up for us. One last chance. Is there anything, Jeronica, that you wanted to mention?
Oh, just as I got back. Not too much. I'm just really excited for all these new changes. It's going to be a lot of volatility and a lot of profits to be made. So,
yeah. Well, we're really lucky to have Tuzi on today. I'm glad that you were able to join us. You definitely have a professional setup there, so your voice comes through very well. But also your expertise, just unparalleled. So.
Well, thanks for the invite. I've got to run though. My 15 and a half month old son just woke up from his nap, and mom keeps glaring at me through my office window. I need to go help her out. So
we're done.
Yep.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it. All right, everybody. Thanks for joining us this week. Next week, we're probably going to talk about some EVE history and get back to the second part of the Continuum of War that we started with Elise a week or two ago. 3 weeks ago. And we will probably pick it up from where we left off, the Casino War, and on through the battles that have happened lately. But for everybody at Talking in Stations, I want to say thank you for joining us. We will see you next time right here on Imperium News. That's it for Talking in Stations. We'll see you next week.